Hello and welcome back to Big Discussions. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar. I am the owner of this channel and the founder and creator of the Big Words blog site. The information for my blog and for all of my social media are on the banner for this channel. Please check out the blog and follow me on social media in whichever way you see fit. Today is June 21st, 2019, and the title of this video is Learning to Practice My Second Amendment Right. So before I go on, I just want to thank everyone who has subscribed. If you are watching this and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And I want to thank everyone who has shared my content. It really makes a difference when people share this stuff into their networks, and that really gives it legs and helps it to grow. So I really appreciate those of you who have shared my stuff. I eventually want to continue my science series, but as you know, depending upon what's happening that week or on a particular day, different ideas come into your mind and you say, okay, oh well, I'm going to make a video about that now. And I had a bunch of different ideas this week, and so I'm going to make some videos on some other topics before I get back to my science series. So it's been an exciting week here on the channel. In the last video, I just had my first formal interview on the channel. In previous uploads, I think a couple times me and my brother shared the lens, in terms of reviewing Avengers Endgame, and then we gave a little commentary on the Maker Faire here in Northern Virginia. But my last video was an actual interview with a gentleman named David Lorenzo Glover, who calls himself the controversial counselor, and we talked about his work being a writer and a giving his commentary on the relationship issues of the day. And we just wanted to join forces and combine our platforms and create some synergy and help each other grow. And so you'll probably see David some more on my channel, and you'll probably see me in his spaces if you go over to his spaces. So last week for Juneteenth, and for those of you who don't know, Juneteenth is a celebration of the emancipation of the slaves back in the 1800s, post-Civil War, or towards the end of the Civil War. I believe it first started in Texas and then it spread throughout the Confederacy. So there's an annual holiday in many black communities called Juneteenth. And so I heard of a gun training, or an introductory gun training event. So last week I attended one. I'd heard about an acquaintance, as my dad says, an acquaintance regularly organizes outdoor events for one of the circles that I run in, and I hadn't been able to go up to this point. And when he announced this one, I said, okay, I want to go check it out. I was a little apprehensive about making this video because guns are such a controversial topic, but I'd already put some pictures up on Instagram letting people know that I had attended it. So I didn't think it would hurt to create a video. I don't want to be long. I want to get in and make this one on a timely fashion, just for brevity's sake, and it takes longer to upload videos that are lengthy, so I want to get in and get out on this one pretty quickly. So, at the opening of this video, I gave you basically 3 shots of the event. I was careful not to zoom in on any of the other attendees or the hosts to protect people's identities, but I just wanted to give a feel for what it was like. It was a beautiful day, and we were out in the woods at a gun range. And the second shot was of one of my targets, and as you can see, the shots were kind of all over the place, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then I took a shot at the ground because there were these shell casings laying everywhere, and I'd never seen anything like it before. So that's what it was like on that day. It was a nice sunny day. It was beautiful. We were out in the woods, and I like going out in the woods and getting away from the urban areas sometimes. So there are a few quick points that I wanted to make here. The first one was that, as I said, I wanted to try it, and with this being an election year, I really wanted to get the message out to not believe everything that you see in the media, because things are spun, things are fabricated, things are exaggerated, and you have to be careful of what you're looking at, and you have to approach things with a healthy sense of skepticism, as my mentor says. And so normally in the media, when we think about the National Rifle Association or the NRA, at least for me, I always tend to associate it with white people and those conservative white pockets of the United States. But this event was actually hosted by a black gun club. And so these were proud members of the NRA, and they were wearing their vests with all of their patches, and they some of them had T-shirts supporting the NRA and supporting being able to shoot pistols and rifles and those kinds of things. One attendee actually had a shirt that said something to the effect of "Celebrating the NRA, pass the ammunition." And so when you grow up in the inner city, again, the guns you think about are the guns either held by law enforcement or guns that are illegally in the possession of drug dealers and gang members. But these were legal, law-abiding gun owners and enthusiasts. The group gave us an extensive training, which in large part covered safety and just briefly talked about a lot of the rules and regulations that are associated with gun ownership. And as the safety piece really stood out to me. The importance of cleaning the weapons stood out to me. But it really, when our speaker was giving the introductory PowerPoint presentation, I really thought about, whenever we have a tragedy, the push to ban guns. And obviously, anytime we have a tragedy, that's bad, and no one wants a loss of life. But it dawned on me that the people in this gun club were really adhering to the rules and acknowledging the rules, and they were very meticulous about safety and the proper storage and usage of these particular of these weapons. And our host actually stated that the gun itself is not evil, it's the user that's evil. And I think I heard that said several times that day. So, it's like I think in Financial Peace University, Dave Ramsey uses a similar analogy, but with a brick. The brick by itself has no intentions. It's the user of the brick who picks it up and either builds a building with it or throws it through a window or to hurt somebody. That's the key. Who's the user? And so as I was sitting there listening to the training, I was thinking, okay, well, we're once again back to, we have a population of people who are following the rules and who are meticulous about safety and registering these things and using these things in the proper way. And then you have people who are illegally using them, and then we have instances where they're falling into the wrong hands and these bad things are happening. So that's a very difficult quagmire that our nation and the government and the people who want to legally possess and use these weapons, that's a very complex quagmire to mediate over until someone comes out with some sort of technology that can minimize these tragedies. Such as, I've often speculated, what if there was a technology that would make guns responsive only to the biological signatures of the owner? That's very futuristic. That's something my brother would think about. But I think about that sometimes. How do you, or is the technology already in existence where, like in a sci-fi movie, where the guns actually can only be used by certain people? Anyway, so now I'm going to talk about actually firing the weapon. I've heard, well, before I talk about that, leading up to this training over the last several years, I've actually heard of several African Americans or black people who actually own guns and like to go to the range and fire. So this wasn't the first time I've heard of this thing. So, and this is important because it's not discussed a lot, and it's not discussed regularly in the media. Again, this is usually framed as a white conservative thing. But please like the video. If you haven't clicked the like button yet, please click the like button. So in terms of actually firing the weapon, I've heard that it makes people feel powerful, and I heard that some people actually get a rush out of pulling the trigger and shooting at their target. It was a little bit scary for me at first to know that I was about to handle something that could, inflict that harm on someone else. The actual weapon that I fired was a Glock. And it was, to pick it up, it was heavy, and the person who showed it to me showed me how to slap the magazine in, and how to position my finger so that I wouldn't accidentally pull the trigger, and he showed me how to hold it with two hands, and that gave me a little bit more confidence with the weapon. And when I actually tried to fire the weapon at my target, because we had the posters, not far away from us, it was actually a lot harder than it looked. And the kickback when you shoot the gun, it does kick back on you. There's a when the bullet pops out, it makes a noise, and the gun really snaps, and so you see the bullets popping out, and then there are people around you shooting, and they gave us earbuds to put in, but still, it's if you've never done it before, it's something to it's different. The part I struggled with was the aim, because during the workshop they told us that we have an eye that's stronger than the other eye, and I was a little bit confused. I think for the activity they showed us, I think my left eye, even though I'm right-handed, my left eye, I thought this was my stronger eye. So there's a way for most of the guns for you to target the muzzle, and so I struggled with the aim the two times I got to shoot the Glock. It was amazing when I stood off in the distance and watched the other participants fire their weapons. Some were really good at it, some were first timers like me, and just watching the whole thing was interesting because I didn't grow up with something like this in my ecosystem back home in Buffalo. and we were out in the secluded area, and you could see the weapons hitting the dirt several yards away. So the weapons were going through our targets, and they were traveling way down the range. So I'd never seen anything like it. And there was another field adjacent to us where people were firing pistols and rifles. And I could actually hear the sound of a machine gun. I could hear the, I'd only heard that on video games and in the movies like Predator or Commando or any of the Vietnam movies, but I never heard a machine gun and an automatic rifle in real life. And so there were a lot of new things that day. And we were there for several hours, and even when we left, there were still people on that adjacent field just shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting. So that was that activity. It was a very interesting outing for me. I'm glad that I got to try it. I am undecided at this point as to whether or not I will ever attempt to purchase a weapon. But if I do, obviously, I will not broadcast it on something like this. It was interesting to try, and I may be curious to try it again just to see if I can actually aim the weapon with some consistency. And I'm going to close this video by just saying that, again, this is an election year, and I'm not an NRA member at this point, but again, what stood out to me was how that group and its members and its participants are normally portrayed on television versus what I actually saw that day, which was a black gun club. And this wasn't the only black gun club in the United States. I'm sure that there are several. So it's very, very important what our perception versus the actual reality is. And I'm going to shout out a gentleman named Brandon Tatum, who is conservative, but during the last election, and this is just to drive home what I'm saying, he went to a Trump rally, and he was one of the first black people that I saw on camera who actually said, you know what, we're being shown these images of the Trump rallies on TV, but what I actually saw when I went to one was completely different in terms of who was actually disrupting the rallies and what was actually transpiring there. So we have to be very careful about the images we're being given, what we're perceiving, and what's actually real. So with that, I'm going to conclude this video. Thank you for watching. Please like the video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. It's the subscribers and the viewers who will help this channel grow. I've got some more cool things rolling out very shortly. And once again, as I always say, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. And with that, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.